I'm going to start the video out here. This is the city of Jerusalem. Behind me, may not be able to see it, is the Dome of the Rock on the rock. But today is Sabbath. It starts Sabbath actually. It's 6:30 at night, and so from sundown to sunup from sundown today to sundown tomorrow is Sabbath. And I wanted to give you a kind of a view of the city at night. It's a beautiful city. We're staying at the Dan Jerusalem Hotel. I want to come back inside and give you kind of a recap for today, what our day was like. So we started up early again, as I mentioned, as I did the video on the Sea of Galilee this morning. So we've gone from the Sea of Galilee all the way to Jerusalem, and we started in the beginning by going up to Caesarea Philippi, I believe. I could be wrong about that. We definitely went up the hill into the Golan Hieghts, and we went over the Golan Hieghts. We took some pictures over the entire Sea of Galilee. It's amazing to me how small the sea really is. It's like one of our lakes there in Oklahoma, Texas, that we would call a lake, but it's a sea. And one of the questions we had for our group, and also just something we're thinking about, is I don't know how over the centuries probably the fishermen had enough fish in the Sea of Galilee to sustain communities. So anyway, we went from the overlooking the Golan Heights and the Sea of Galilee. We went along the border with Jordan, and that border took us to some ruins. Beth something. I'll post it in the comments. But we went into this old Roman city that they have excavated. There's these pillars and columns. If you go to my Instagram account, you can look at those pictures. Very fascinating. And we got to walk around and look at the different the theater and look at the palace. And then a group of us from the group ran up this hill, and on that hill is where Saul, King Saul of Jerusalem, of Israel, King Saul and his sons were actually hung on the wall there by the enemy fighters. And then those from Gilead came, and they took the bodies down and cremated them and buried them in Gilead. But we went to that kind of the fortress where they were hung. From there, we went down to the Jordan, and this is the actual site where the Jordan, where Jesus was baptized. But also one of the coolest stories in the book of Scripture. There's two sea partings. One of them when they crossed the Red Sea into the desert from Egypt. And then the other one is when Joshua leads the people of Israel into the Promised Land across the Jordan. And so there's this one place where we were at near Jericho, but the sea was actually, the Jordan River was actually held back up to a place called Adam. So the Dam of Adam, or the Bridge of Adam, I think is where it is. But there was this, they blocked, of course, God part of the Jordan River. They walked across on dry land. They surrounded the town, the fortress of Jericho, marched around it, as Scripture says, and then the walls came tumbling down. We were on the side of the Jordan where John the Baptist was also baptizing people that were repenting and coming to listen to John, where he was calling and making a way for Jesus as he was coming to take away the sins of the earth, of the world. Well, from there, if you look back towards Jericho, there's a modern-day Jericho, there's the New Testament Jericho, and then there's this old Jericho, which we couldn't see or find. We were on the space that may be possibly the city of Jericho, the ancient city of Jericho was. It's called the oldest city in the world. The sign there says it's 11,000 years old, but really there was nothing there but just a mound of dirt and rocks. But if you read the scripture there in Joshua, when they invaded the city of Jericho, the walls came down, and then if you remember Achan, he stole some of the things, hid it within the city of Jericho, and then they went out to fight Ai, and they lost. And Joshua came back and talked to God, and God said, well, there's sin in the camp. Well, they narrowed it down to Achan. They found the the buried treasure there, and it says that Joshua just destroyed completely the city of Jericho and actually cursed it, and so nothing was ever built again. So it makes sense that we wouldn't find, or that they wouldn't find the remains of Jericho to this day. So that was Jericho itself is a beautiful kind of area of the valley. You could see the wilderness where Jesus was taken after he was baptized to be tempted for 40 days, and was tempted by the enemy. From there, you could see the hills that were going over into Jerusalem. We went to lunch there in Jericho. Had a great meal of lamb and chicken, kind of a kebab. And there's hummus at every meal, and the hummus is amazing, so good. Basically, hummus for me has been like dipping sauce for everything we've eaten since we've been here. It's been really good. Coffee, it's instant coffee, but it's not bad. It's drinkable. From lunch, we went actually up into the overpass where Jesus would walk from Jericho to Jerusalem. This is also the Jericho where Elisha and Elijah came, crossing the Jordan, and then Elijah was taken up with the chariots of fire. Also, it's the Jericho. There was a mount in the background where you saw where Moses came and looked over the valley. He could see the promised land, but he was never allowed to come into the promised land. A lot of stuff happened right there in the Jericho Valley. But then you go up over the mountains to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is really high, high in the mountains, and so we're going across the valley, or across the wilderness, and it's fascinating wilderness. I'm going to post a video here a little later to the channel with the Lord, Psalm 23, where they say this is the valley of the shadow of death. It's probably not the actual valley of the shadow of death. That's the Kidron Valley in Jerusalem. We'll see that one of these days here in the next couple of days. But fascinating enough to see that shepherds would take their sheep and their goats and they would walk through the valleys. All the trails, there's a lot of animal trails that the sheep have made over the years because there's no rain, there's no erosion. You can see all the sheep paths along the hills of the wilderness there. There's an old monastery there that's been there for centuries, and there's a couple monks in there right now. But really, kind of a brutally beautiful place, kind of a desolate but beautiful place out there in the wilderness between Jericho and Jerusalem. Also, the place where the Good Samaritan story took place between the two towns. And there's actually an inn called the Good Samaritan Inn there between the two cities. And then we came into Jerusalem during the day. Our first glimpse of Jerusalem, went through this tunnel and came up over the hill there and saw the Temple Mount, saw Jerusalem, a beautiful, beautiful city. And tonight we're spending the night here, and we'll be staying here for a few days as we explore and see Jerusalem. You could see the Mount of Olives if we came in. And of course, like I said, the Temple Mount over there, the dome of the rock is over there. But looking forward to it. We're about to go to dinner, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But exciting day overall. There's a couple roads we went on. I grew up in Central America, and there are some gnarly roads. But I don't think I have ever been on a road like this. If anybody's ever been to Maui, there's the road to Hana with all the curves and all the twists and turns, but these roads we were on today, like the road to Hana has nothing on these roads. One of them was over the Golan Hieghts and coming down, and you can see Jordan on the left as we're coming down, twisting and turning. I actually recorded the whole thing, but I'm going to put up a fast forward, kind of a quick one on YouTube. And then the other one is going over the pass from Jericho into Jerusalem. The bus, it's an old road. They haven't ever our tour guide in all these years have never taken a tour bus on this one, but really, wow, impressive. So I'll post that as well. Anyway, thanks for checking this out. Our group's doing great, and we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.